Hello. Our topic for today is how to deal with your team, and in general we are going to talk about the human factor in a project, which is an important topic, and I hope it will also be interesting for you. To begin with some classics, the personal decides everything. These are the words of Joseph Stalin, of course. Even though we do not love this person, this is an important historical figures, and some of the quotations may make us think harder about our subject. So, our plan for today is how to deal with humans in a project and what is the role of a project manager, how to build a team, how to deal with conflicts that are inevitable in case of projects, and in the end we are going also to talk about stress in projects, but in general also. So this is going to be some general useful knowledge for you, I hope, at least. Okay, so what kind of humans can we meet when we deal with a project? There are stakeholders. There's of course a project manager, some supervisors, some consultants, and personnel in general, so people working for the project. We are going to deal with some of those now. Let me begin with the stakeholders. This is important to understand this word. Well, a stakeholder is anyone that can be anyhow influenced by our project, and not necessarily being engaged in this project directly. In other words, it doesn't need to be anyone working for the project. It doesn't need to be an investor, no one like that. It can be, let's say, someone living in a neighborhood. So someone that may somehow feel the project and can be both positive or negative. I mean, can spoil our project, can even go to the police if he thinks something bad is happening, and we may have to go on trial with this person. So we will try to avoid things like that. As you can see, we should acquire the positive stakeholders, and we should try to neutralize the bad ones for the project. It's not that easy, because not all the projects are we know that every project is an open system, so the connections of the project with the environment are there are plenty of connections. Okay, so the projects actually have an impact on the environment. So usually there are stakeholders outside the project. There are people that we can influence. So we need to think about everything in advance. We need to plan what to do. We need also to plan how much it is going to cost us, because sometimes you need somehow reward the people to accept your project if they have the power to do so. So this is to remind that in a project there are not only people working for the project and people investing in the project, but there are plenty other people that we need to take into consideration at the very beginning. When during our project definition we need to think about them. Also, during the definition of our project, we need to form our team, which usually starts with the manager. If you are an investor, somebody that wants to invest in a project, so we begin to think about it, we begin to think about the money, and then we choose the project manager. The project manager should be the person also responsible for forming the team, because this way the project manager can actually be responsible for everybody, and this is what we want him to be. Of course, sometimes we don't have enough resources to be able to acquire anyone we would like to, but this is life. This is life. So the role of a project manager in a project begins with initiation. So the project manager needs to know a lot about the project. Probably this is the person that would know most of the things about the project. And from almost from the very beginning, the project manager is to persuade the decision makers, is to accelerate everything. So this person is to take care that everything is going the proper way. We may call a project manager an entrepreneur because this person acquires resources and, let's say, that fights for the project. And also, this is a person that would try to avoid inertia, try to move everything around and push everything forward to make changes, to make the project just happen. So, the work of a project manager is, between other things, to plan everything from the very beginning, to create the project team, as I have said, to deal with the stakeholders, because somebody needs to negotiate with the leaders of the tasks, to deal with the client or the investor, also to monitor and control the project, and this is the very soul of being the project manager. Solving problems and implementing changes if those are necessary. In other words, also the project manager during the execution phase is like a metronome. You know the metronome, something that gives the cycle of the project. So checks if everything is going according to the specification, and so according to the schedule, to the budget, and so on. And if everything is okay, then okay. If it's not, well, the project manager needs to intervene. So actually the project manager would plan and organize everything at the very beginning, would form the project team, then would check if everything goes according to the plan. If something doesn't go, that would intervene, and so this would be the work of a project manager until the very end. So if a project manager has plenty of things to do, as you can see, then this person needs to have a kind of authority. Okay, the things are not that easy. I mean, there are different kinds of projects, and so there are different kinds of authority. First of all, there's this authority by the power of law. So a formal authority, when the project manager is able to reward, is high in the hierarchy. This is a person who can reward you, and your salary depends on this person. So this is a man with power. And on the other hand, a project manager can be without formal authority, but the only thing that this person has is his or her charisma. And the charisma may rely on two things. I mean, the first one is knowledge. So we follow the project manager because this person knows what to do. And the second one is, let's say, personality or relations. So if you can see that this person has got good relations and everybody does what he or she wants, then you also do it. As you can see, this charismatic way of being a project manager is probably not that easy. I mean, most of the people are not born like that, and for sure it is not that easy as to be a formal project manager. Okay, So why is that? Why is that? That actually sometimes a project manager doesn't have this formal authority, but he still is a project manager. And how to deal with that? Well, it depends on the structure of the company. Okay? So if a structure is purely project-based, then there's no problem. I mean, the project manager is the formal leader of his or her team, and the problem ends here. Okay? So this is a formal authority. Nothing can happen. But if you've got this functional or matrix structure where there are functional divisions and just some people from those divisions take part in your project and you are the project manager, then actually the only way you can deal with that is to be this charismatic project manager. Because the formal authority still belongs to the functional managers. Okay, so the people working for the project, first of all, are responsible before they functional managers, and then they just belong to the project. So what to do? Well, if you are not the boss, you are not the highest position in the structure, you need to deal with that somehow. And this is paradoxical. Your responsibility is real, because you are the project manager, so they expect you to execute the project, and you don't have those formal tasks. So this situation is called the authority gap. Okay, so you have your responsibility, you have no power. Okay, you don't have enough power to fulfill this responsibility. So does it mean that you can do nothing? Oh no. I mean, you need to be charismatic, and this is what you can do. So you need to be able to influence people. Your problem is how to win friends and influence people, and your power comes from the relations and from your knowledge. So this is extremely important, to be able to get along with your team, to speak their language, and to have good relations with them. So in this structure, the matrix functional structure, the project manager acquires the resources and plans and runs the project, while the functional managers, they are still responsible for the technical aspects of the project. So you need to cooperate with the functional managers. So I would say that this is more like an art of dealing with people than anything else. I mean, you deal with your team, you deal with the functional managers, and you pay attention to the fact that the functional managers need to make their people also work for your project. So, what is important to be a good project manager? Well, there are different features that we are going to describe now, and they are, as you can see, both based on personality, and they are also technical, conceptual. So in general, a project manager needs to be somebody connecting different kind of skills. So the personal features, well, of course you need to be flexible, adaptable, and you need to have this initiative, because without it you wouldn't be a leader. So a product manager for sure is a leader, not necessarily a born leader, but a leader of his or her team. Some self-confidence, of course. On the other hand, a product manager needs to think in the terms of a project. So schedules and money is almost everything from this point of view. Self-discipline comes first, because if you want people to follow you, you need to give the good example. You need to integrate somehow technology with budgets and so on, and you need to combine both knowledge and general education. As you can see, there are different things that can help you in being a project manager. Interpersonal skills like active listening. As you can see, you need to, as we know, we need to deal with people. So in order to do so, first we need to listen to them. We need to be able to speak to different kind of people, like to the accounting people, to the engineers, and so on. We need to be able to negotiate, but also we need to be able to connect different kind of people in order to synthesize, because a good project is always a synthesis of different approaches. More skills. So dealing with the emotions, both your own emotions and the emotions of anyone else. Being able to reward people, not necessarily with money. Being able to assign the right tasks to the right people, but please avoid making the best people doing all of the job, because this is what often happens. I mean, if you can do things, they will reward you with more work. Well, as you know, not that good. You need to be able to build the trust and team spirit, which is obvious, but it is very difficult. This is even more difficult. I mean, you need to invest in the skills of your team members. So if you are able to develop your team members, then yes, you are going to be a great product manager. Also, if you in general take care of your team more than of yourself, then yes, you can be a great project manager. Business skills. So you need to know the organization, the industry. You need to be a good manager. So a manager knows marketing, negotiations, whatever. You need to be good at planning and executing projects. So you need to have some experience. And in general, project management skills, which is obvious. Technical skills sometimes are necessary. I mean, they are necessary if the projects are, let's say, small projects, and if they are not, it is enough if you can connect, if you can speak to different kind of people, if you can connect different teams. So let's say the managerial skills become more important in case of big projects, because you cannot be able to deal with all the technical issues being just one person. So in case of each project, you need different kind of skills. The proportions depend on the kind of a project. So if you are a scientist, well, you need to understand the essentials of the project and the technical essentials and so on. In business project, not necessarily, because as I've said, being a good manager, negotiating, planning and so on, sometimes is more important than going into technical details. You need to be a good manager all the time. Sometimes you need your technical knowledge. Also, this synthetic approach is important because your engineers will do the engineering job, but you need to integrate everything into one system that works properly. So this is it. A project manager is a person who integrates everything into one. By the way, there are different options for a project manager, for a project in terms of a manager. So the best option is when there is one project manager from the very beginning, so from the initiation, planning, or at least planning, until the end. If there are more of them, like the organization and technical manager, sometimes it is necessary. Okay, sometimes it is necessary. Okay, probably the general manager should be the boss anyway. If you need to change the manager on the way, this is not a good choice. I mean, this is the same as you would have to change the judge during the trial. Okay, so it's not the best way. It's not the best way. Okay. Another thing is to think what are the ways that an organization can deal with decision making. Okay, so in this case, as you can see, the real problems appear here. Okay, so this is operational job. These are all operational divisions, and some problems appear here. Okay, so some decisions are to be made. So you send the information to your boss sends it upstairs and up, and then there's this big boss making all the decisions and sending the orders down, and then you just obey the orders. This is an extreme example for sure, but this is to show you that in an extreme situation it may work like that. On the other hand, here the problems also appear down there on this operational level, but most of them are dealt with also on this level. If they are really hard, then they go up, and maybe the decisions are made here or even here. In general, this big boss, let's call this person like that, forms the strategy, the objectives, and tells the objectives to the other people. So they go down there, but most of the decisions are made down there. Which option is better? As we can guess, usually or often the second one. I mean this one. Because, well, if you deal with the problem personally, you have most of the information, and often if you have more experience to deal with it. Okay, so usually this second option is better. I mean, the first one, we can call it centralized. In this situation, people just need to implement the orders coming from up there, and the second one is dispersed, and the decisions are made at the lowest level possible, and also the decision makers are always responsible for the result. Usually the second approach works better, unless the people are actually not capable of making those decisions. Okay, so if you have a business, an industry where the people that working there are actually capable of making the right decisions, let them make those decisions. And this is the art of leadership, which can be called the ability to impact others in order to achieve your desired results, but the ability to impact others is not to tell them in every situation everything they need to do. Okay, so it is more to let them make the right decision and to be responsible for them and to pursue your ends. Okay. So the different styles of leadership, we can divide them into task-oriented and relational. So task-oriented is focused on the objectives. So we have our task, we need to perform them. This is what we do. The second one is focused more on humans, I mean good atmosphere. It is important that we like our job and so on. Of course, the answer, which one is better, is not that easy, but it depends on the type of organization that we work for. It also depends on particular project. So, where the project is based on creativity and people need to feel free, because creativity only appears when people feel the space to reveal it, then for sure the second option, the relational model, is better. So people make their own decisions and you just expect the results from them. On the other hand, when we are focused on this physical efficiency and we have the procedures that are efficient and we are sure that they are efficient and there's no other way of doing that, then yes, we should use this task-oriented approach. Of course, this relational approach is more interesting for us, so we will focus on it for a moment. If your team members are capable of doing things and eager to do them, so the only thing you can do is to facilitate their work. I mean, to support them, like in this example, you can buy them pizza, not to make them waste time. Okay? But if they are capable of but uneager, then a delegative style is a quite good one. I mean, delegative is when you set the objectives and you expect people to meet the objectives, but you do not tell them how to make it, because they are intelligent enough to make it on their own. Based on that, we can speak of participative management. Participative means, well, people take part in managing the project. So if the projects are big and really depend on creativity and engagement of people and so on, this is what we should choose. Let's say that the project manager is not a specialist in terms of technical things, and as I've said, creativity needs freedom. So the participation of the team members in this situation motivates them, because if they feel that actually the objectives of the project are their own objectives, this is the best thing. So the best thing they can do is to try to achieve those objectives. Okay, so this is participation. In practice, we need to know that participation and relations are important for a lot of kinds of projects. We need to remember that actually the tools that we use to manage projects are more task oriented, which means that anyway, if we deal with a project, we will be task oriented just a little bit, because, well, any project by definition is task oriented. But if the project is of that kind that depends on people's creativity, then we should work hard on introducing the relational style to manage the project. Okay, so if we deal with relational style, we would have to build our team. And team building is not that easy. But the results can be great, as you can see in this picture. So let's begin with whom we can expect to be a team member. So there are different kinds of team member. Well, an assistant, of course, an engineer, leaders, people from different functional divisions, trainees, specialists, accountants, controllers, account managers, whatever. So there are different people, and usually or often a typical project is something in which you need to combine different kind of skills and different kind of personalities. So in the end, the results can be quite interesting, but at the very beginning it might not be that easy, because we may say that everybody speaks their own language. The accountants and controllers, maybe they speak the same language, but and the engineers, they speak a little bit different. Assistants, they do not speak at all. So what we need to do is to combine those different skills and personalities. So a project manager is someone that synthesizes everything into one. Some other remarks. What kind of team do we need to build? If I was to answer this question in some simple words, I would say the smallest one. Because, you know, the more people you have, the more problems you can get. Of course, the smallest teams are cheaper, and if you have some extra money, you can pay them more, so they will be engaged in your project even more. Yes, so the smallest one. Your team is not for you to be proud of them, to show that, well, I'm a leader of 20 people, whatever, okay? Your team is not to show how important you are. Your team is to let you execute your project. Please remember that. So, who is good as a team member? Usually you don't have much of a choice, but if you do, well, sometimes we need this interdisciplinary approach. So somebody creative, but remember, not too many geniuses, because they would focus on fighting each other. Actually, yes, this is what they often do. Some people with general approach, some people with some more detailed approach, older, younger, whatever. If people are different, then you have this multidisciplinary, you have different skills, different experiences. In the end, the effects can be quite satisfactory. Yeah, and somebody who makes everyone laughing is sometimes also important. Please remember that a project team is something more than a group. So there is a dynamic inside each team, which is important. A very simple definition of a product team is people connected by the product objective. If they are not connected by the product objective, then they are not a real team. And probably your product will fail anyway. Some features of an effective team, even though this is not that easy to show, to pinpoint those features. So yeah, they have this objective. They know who belongs to the team. They want to achieve the objectives, and there's a leader, and they are confident. I mean, they know that their organization cares about them and wants them to achieve their objectives and so on. So there was some research done on so-called super teams, so the most effective teams, and the results show that there are some features that we can connect with those super effective teams. So they would spend all their times working for the product. They are strongly connected to the project, and they never stop thinking about the product. As you can see, yes, this is what we actually imagine when we think about the great team, or even different individuals focused on their goals. On the other hand, it is probably not that easy that everyone would all the time be focused on the project. So from time to time they may. So if we need an effective team, an extraordinary effective team, then we can follow those rules. Anyway, if we are to create a team, we need to follow those steps. So at the very beginning, we need to tell everybody what product they are going to deal with, and we need to tell them what actually we expect from them, and they need to somehow confirm that they understand their engagement, and we need to set the objectives of a product and assign the task to everyone. Please remember that if you start with assigning the tasks and you do not explain the overall objective of a product and so on, it will not work perfectly. People need to know the common end, which is the objective of the project. Then you negotiate with them their engagement, and then after mutual understanding, you assign the particular tasks. At the very beginning, also, you need to set some other rules, like the communication, responsibilities, the decision making, who is going to be the boss, the deputy of the boss, and so on. Also, how you will deal with the conflicts, some extra rewarding factors, the schedules of your meeting, everything that is important to make your product work smoothly. So even though your people may hate getting up early, but if you set the week by week meetings at 7 o'clock in the morning every Monday, and the rule is clear, it is much better than calling to everybody every week and negotiating when to meet and so on. Okay, So people need the rules, even and sometimes, especially in case of a very creative project, they need to focus on their tasks, but the rules should be there, at least not to make them think what to do, how to do it. Okay, they shouldn't think about the way the project actually works. They should be focused on their own job. So this is why we need to set the rules at the very beginning. The another thing to deal with today is conflict management, and the thing is quite important. And as you will see, a conflict is not necessarily something bad. I mean, there can be some positive results coming out of a conflict. So there can be different sources of a conflict. So if you deal with your client as a project executioner, everything can be a source of a conflict. The scopes of responsibilities are a potential source of a conflict, and also different priorities, different personalities can be a great source of a conflict. There can be different objects of the conflict. Everything, like procedures, the way that you communicate, schedules, cost, people, everything. Sometimes there are objective factors that catalyze a conflict, and sometimes there are personalities that also play a role here. But as I've said, a conflict is not necessarily something totally negative. I mean, if you make people scream out their ideas, you may get something actually innovative. People may, in the end, express their opinions, and if they do so, then you may learn something new. In the end, you may identify and solve problems faster than otherwise, and people can show their true potential, and in the end, like after a fight, an atmosphere is cleared. And this is what we knew, to be creative. If there are no conflicts, there are no true opinions. So something bad is happening, or at least some of the creative ideas are just kept aside, so you never know them, which is a bad thing. Okay, there is a monotony, and please remember that there is no such thing as a group thinking. People do not think together, just some of them speak and some of them do not, so maybe you should make them speak, maybe you should make them express their feelings and ideas. So there can also be conflicts between different teams. And especially if the teams are competing, this is natural. This is natural that conflicts like that appear. So, how to solve a conflict? You can withdraw from it, but this way you will not get the best ideas. People will not speak out, so not a good idea. You can try to smooth the conflict, you can try to avoid them. This is also not a good idea. Even you may say so, you may think it is. But this way people still do not express their ideas, the problems may still be there. On the other hand, you can try to impose your solution by force, this is also a bad idea. Because if people feel forced to do something, they will not feel motivated. I mean, they will do it if they have to, but they don't think it is the best idea. So their engagement will not be that good. If you want people to make concessions, it is also not the best idea. I mean, they may do so, they may not fight anymore, but probably the solution is a political one. It is not the best solution. It is the solution that everybody accepts somehow, but still there could be something better. And the best way to deal with a conflict is to confront people. So, the project manager is not to stop the conflict. Everybody that is involved in a conflict must clearly communicate their expectations. And then they need to discuss. And then they need to change things. And then you will arrive at a better point with better solutions, better ideas. So the project manager is like a moderator. Of course, there's a great danger when dealing with a conflict this way, which is the only proper way, by the way. Because the danger is that people will try to fight each other and they will argue about personal things like, you are so stupid that I am not going to talk to you. We know those things. So the thing is that you cannot allow such things to happen. You need to focus on trying to reach for the creativity, for the best ideas of people. So make people speak about the real problems, about the project, about the possible solutions, about their role in the project and so on. You cannot let people fight about their personalities and so on, because this is not what we do. There's a technique called the role describing technique, so where each team member describes his or her view about this role in the conflict, and they ask questions and they focus on the problem, not personal issues, as I have said, and they negotiate in a way their role in a project, and the project manager takes care about discussing everything that is important. If we deal with a conflict between different teams, we also focus on problems. Okay. We delegate somebody to meet. If we need somebody else to act as a moderator, why not? Please remember that it is not to make the different teams laugh each other. It is enough if they can solve a problem, okay? This is enough. Maybe they will come up with a much better solution than before, which is great for us. So after conflict, we have another important thing, and the thing is stress. Stress is something that we feel not necessarily in connection with any conflict. This is something that comes from our past as a species. Okay, so this is a kind of mobilization that was necessary for us a long time ago. I mean, in case of this guy here, he had some chances to survive because he mobilized his body to work as hard as possible. But as you can imagine, this situation wouldn't last long. I mean, he either made it or not. Today, the same kind of biological reaction appears and may last for a long time. When it does, it is called stress. If your work may stress you, your social life, social life, yeah, your wife, I know. So, from this biological point of view, it still works if as you were chased by an animal or something. So it works on your brain, it works on your heart, on your stomach, whatever, and the level of some hormones just goes up and doesn't want to go down. As I've said, if it would just happen for a moment, then you would feel this relief, like bungee jumping or something. For some people, it is even I would say it is even pleasant for them. And actually, yes, after say physical exercise and so on, you can feel this relief, and this is it. But if it lasts long because your job is stressful and every day you go there, you feel, even before you've got a headache, your stomach aches and so on, and then this is stress, and this is very bad because our bodies are not prepared for it. So this whole reaction was designed just for a moment, and as I've said, if you could survive because of this reaction. If it lasts too long, it will kill you, almost kill you. Okay? So, how to deal with stress? Please remember that stress, as such, is subjective. I mean, it is inside you, even though it may be very strong and so on. It depends on the perception of reality, not the reality itself, because for some people some factors can be important and other cannot be important. Okay, for other people they do not matter, like being late somewhere. Okay, some people can actually be stressed about it, some other wouldn't even care, as I can see, as far as I remember about some of my students, of course not you. Even though stress is subjective, this is still a biological fact. Okay, I mean, it is the factors are subjective, or your perception of the factors making you feel stressed are subjective, but stress itself is a biological fact. Okay. So, as I've said, it may even kill you in a long run. Projects may be stressful. They may generate stress for you because they are unique. So you never know how much work you need to do, what is going to happen, and so on. As stress is subjective, there can be different factors making you feeling it. So, too much work may make you feel stressed. Also, too little work can have the same influence, conflicts with other people. If there are different sources of command, as I've been talking about it earlier. So if there's a product manager and also your functional manager, so different ways of command, it all can make you feel a lot of stress. And the people working with you, oh yeah, they talk too much or just talk too little, and they don't like you or you don't like them, whatever, everything can make you feel stressed. So how to deal with stress? This is product management. So what can we do? We can be perfect product managers. I mean, if we have a perfect plan, the work goes smoothly and there are not too many stress factors. So this is what we can actually do. And we can also deal with our team members. Actually, yes, being empathic counts. I know that for some of us, the personal relations are not that important. Well, I'm sure that everyone can learn it. I mean, I've seen people who are usually lonely individuals or alone individuals, but if they have to, they would be forming teams, they would take care about their teams, and this is what counts. Please remember that we can do something in advance to limit the stress that our team feels. And this thing is building relations. So integrating your teams before those great projects, the project that would require a lot of work and would necessarily impose a lot of stressing factors on them before they appear. If you can make it, this is the best thing you can do, okay? So this is why sometimes people working in a team go together to deal with some kind of team sports, teamwork, whatever can integrate them. So this is why we do it. So to sum up the lecture, always our modular approach works properly, okay? Because in this case our team members are our modules, and we can call it managing by participation. As you remember, you don't care what's actually inside the module. You just care that you get the right results at the very end. Okay? So this is managing by participation. So you trust your team leaders, team members, and you control what needs to be controlled. So if they actually are delivering the results that you expect from them. I mean, this is what we do, especially in the projects that depend on creativity, that people need to be creative when they work for them. In other cases, your level of control can be higher. So getting back to the son of the nations, of course, Joseph Vassianari, whatever, he once said that it is easy to execute people, but it is much more difficult to make them work. And let's say that this quotation should work as a reminder for us that actually team building and dealing with teams in projects and in every other situations, this is an important issue. Probably you can learn dealing with different tools also the tools used in project management, but the universal abilities to deal with people, to form teams and to make them work, they are useful everywhere, and they are not that easy to learn. But it is always worth trying. So, please try. Thank you very much.